I have enough for everybody up there. Let me know if it's not enough. Everybody can. And I've got more if you run out.
Can't find him either.
All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's April 4, 2024, 5:32 p.m. Regular meeting, Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Ernie Lee McGaha Government Building. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak to an item on the agenda. The speaker will be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairperson to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers, please refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protest, or any other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion will be limited to board members and questions raised by the board. Commissioner Burgash.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, this evening, I would like to, for our invocation, to ask everyone to stand, and we're going to observe a moment of silence. So please join me. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance. Any items to be added to the agenda across the dais? I'll take it one swoop.
No, sir.
Nothing.
No. Wes, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So
as
moved, Mr.
amended.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Please vote. Agenda passes 4-0. Commissioners forum. Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate it. Certainly want to thank Wes and his staff. Wes, the cleanups, and quite frankly, you know, we've had some tough times the last week with debris, but thank you for continuing to keep our neighborhoods clean. And so we're not going to back down from cleaning up neighborhoods that are important to us. So Wes, I do appreciate you and your staff, and Claire Long and Maisha and Leroy. Thank them for the summer youth program that's going well. We appreciate all the hard work that they're doing. I do want again to send out my condolences to Cadillac Banks and his family for the loss of his grandson. I was able to be at the funeral and be a part. And any time that we have a 13-year-old shooting a 15-year-old, not only do we lose the life of the 15-year-old, but the 13-year-old has lost his life. And so we do appreciate it. And Chief Powell, I know that it's been a challenge, but thank you for keeping me informed. regardless of the crime, the person is still a human, and so we have to treat them with dignity, and we have to treat them innocent until proven guilty. And even if guilty, everyone deserves to be treated with kindness. So I certainly appreciate the kind acts that we're giving that family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the Sertoma of Northeast Pensacola for having me out to speak at their recent meeting. Great get-together, great discussion of issues throughout the county. Also want to thank the Neighborhood Watch of Inner Island, who invited me out recently for a nice conversation with them about all the issues that they're working to fix out there, and anything that we can do from the county to assist. So I appreciate those folks, their gracious hospitality. Also, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner May and Commissioner Kohler for altering the meeting schedule to help with some travel that I got to do, so I appreciate that. And so before our next meeting, we will have my 90-second coffee with the commissioner. I think this will be a really good one. We're going to do it live in person at the Visitor Center in Perdido Key. We're going to talk about all the issues at Southwest Escambia County and all the issues that are going on. And finally, I want to thank everyone for their patience as we deal with this roundabout in Perdido Key, and particularly the citizens that have to drive through it multiple times a day. You know, it was a project that, with the best of intentions, I inherited when that area of the county reverted to District 1. I'm agnostic about them. I know how to operate. The one at 17th Street works fantastic. I've been through it. Other parts of the country, Arizona, Wisconsin, but this one was too small. It was shoehorned into a space that was not adequate, and it's not even centered properly. When you're going north to south, or I guess heading west toward Alabama, and you're coming south through that roundabout, you have to barely veer, and what we've seen is trucks just kind of speeding right through it, going right through the middle of it. It's created several accidents. So I want to thank Chris and Joy. They're going to help. We're going to get this thing fixed, and they're going to bring back a couple of options. First option is make it of the appropriate size. You tried to do it small, and it's just not working. So it's either bring back one that's big enough, center the roads so that people have to slow down enough to actually have to navigate the roundabout so that it works, or bring me back the option where we demo the roundabout and put a traffic signal there, because we have to fix that intersection. But the current solution, we've added rumble strips because people were speeding, but now people don't like the rumble strips. I get it. So just everyone watching this meeting, I want you to know it is a failure. The roundabout is a failure. But we're going to fix it. We're going to make it right, make it bigger and center it, or we're going to put a traffic light there. And I will bring that, whichever option is the best, most efficient, and economical, I will bring that to this board, and I'll pay for it out of District 1 discretionary loss with my board's approval, which I believe hopefully they would do that. So I want to apologize to the citizens out there for that traffic nightmare. We're going to get it fixed. I also want to let folks know we're actively looking, because that giant apartment complex was dumped down there right in Perdido, where there's not enough capacity on the roads to handle it. We're looking at the idea of going under the Bars Bridge and coming up and putting a one-way way out of that apartment complex onto Perdido Key Drive. Because right now, if you're trying to make a left out of Perdido Key Drive, it's an absolute disaster. It's a nightmare, especially during traffic time. So we're looking at a number of solutions to issues that we inherited in that district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Kohler.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a few things to comment on, excuse me. For the folks splitting between District 1 and District 2, I guess most of this fire is in my district on the east side of Dog Shack Road, but please, I doubt many people are listening, but I hear they're evacuating all the way down to Weller, so just, we can replace houses, but safety's first, so just listen to law enforcement and the fire department. I want to talk about last Saturday. I was with Ocean Hour. I heard what Commissioner May said about cleanup. I worked with them over at Lexington Terrace. There's about 15, some people from the base, and we picked up 344 pounds of trash that day. This group is just a wonderful group that's trying everything they can to clean up our community, and I just want to recognize them. They're doing a couple more cleanups this Saturday at Navy Point, Triangle Park, and then on the 27th over at Mahogany Mills, so that'll be great news. If you live in Perdido Key Estates, on April 17th, we will meet at Bailey Middle School at 5:30 to talk about some of your lengthy stormwater drainage projects. This is basically for the neighborhood. This has been going on for almost 20 years, so there'll be some signs out there, but it's specific just to that community out there. Yesterday, we had the Pensacola Perdita Bay Estuary Program meeting. Chips was there, several people from the community. There's a lot of good information coming on right now. A lot of good stuff with our National Estuary Program. I mentioned it before. Hopefully, we'll get quite a few more grants down the road if that gets approved, so I'm excited about that. Saturday, very rare occasion for us, but we had the Consul General of Japan here, Mr. Nakai, and he was here for a group with the Japanese United States military program, which has gone on, and there's about 300 people that were there right here downtown, and they basically helped build alliances between the United States and Japan, and it was very informative, and it was good for us in the military. And the Prime Minister will be coming here, I think, in the next couple of weeks to meet our president. Military appreciation on Saturday night by the Ice Flyers. What a wonderful night. I want to thank them for letting me be the referee for tug of war. It was a great night. There was a ton of veterans out there, and that's nice that they recognize the veterans. Today, Wes was probably the smartest guy out there, but I don't see Michael Rhodes, but him and I were battling to be the worst disc golfers in the county. They opened up the disc golf at Lexington Terrace, and there were a lot of people out there. It's the only 18-hole disc golf run by the county. They have one out at UWF and one out at Blue Angel, but it's a huge hit. That park's getting more and more traffic all the time, and I want to just thank Mike Rhodes so much for that and the work done by Parks and Rec. So good job, and Wes, I'm glad you didn't throw a disc because I sucked at it. Hey, on Saturday, we got the VA Fair over on 98. And if you're a veteran, I'll go to 8 to 12 at the Seabach. Please show up. And the last thing I want to talk about, which has kind of got a lot of momentum with my office, and I don't know if any other commissioners, is the traffic going into the base for the Blue Angel air shows. No one's trying to move the Blue Angels to the beach or anywhere else. This meeting is a meeting of the minds to brainstorm all ideas, so I don't want anyone to get out there and think that there's anything been decided. This is to look at how the base can work, how the county can work, how we can work with the sheriff's department, and come up with some COAs that basically can improve the traffic for the folks that live out there off Gulf Beach Highway. It kind of alludes to the roundabout and everything else that's going on out there, but it is a serious problem. I mean, I literally have over 80 emails just on that. I don't even know how many phone calls. Never had any more issues than this in my whole time as a commissioner, so you got to take it serious. But I'm sure we'll have a good meeting on Monday. And only the last thing I want to say is we won't meet again before the 20th, but the sheriff's putting on cops, cars, and crawfish. So if you have a car and you like crawfish, come on out. I'll be a judge, and who knows, maybe you'll win. All right, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
And thank you, and it's good to know that someone watches these meetings, maybe just your mother, and I guess when you can't get outside, you have nothing else to do, but whenever my mother called, I answer, but, and she reminded me of a funeral we were in this weekend. Thank you. Ms. Mabel Thomas, who's 93 years old, who was instrumental in Willie Jr.'s election, Marie Young, as well as when I first ran, and was kind of the queen of Avery Street, 42 years of service of working at Baptist. She actually lives right on the Lakeview campus, and 93 years old, 42 years of service to Baptist Hospital, and 90 plus years of service to the Morris Court community and the Blunt Street and to Mays Court and all that. We laid her to rest this week, and Ms. Mabel was very important to my mother and very important to me, and I just want to offer condolences to her and her family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me
Yes, sir. Thank you. First, I want to send her condolences from from the board, as well as all the administration and certainly her former colleagues in planning and zoning. Brenda Wilson passed away about 10 days ago, and thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family. And her daughter is Dawn Troche, that's been my aide since the entire time that I've been with the board, but she was a county employee for many years before becoming a District 5 aide. So, she lost her mother and all of Brenda's 20 great-grandchildren lost their great-grandmother, and that's just a terrible, terrible circumstance after a lengthy illness, and just a very sad occasion. I want to recognize my friend that's principal at Molina Park Elementary, Cheryl Janacek. They were one of the schools in the Escambia County that were recognized as a School of Excellence by the Florida State Chancellor of Education this week, which is a pretty high honor. That was the one school in District 5 that was recognized, and I want to thank thank Cheryl for her great work out there. And we did have a very good time at the Molina Park Elementary Carnival a couple of weeks ago. So it was nice to it's nice to see a District 5 elementary school getting that kind of recognition. Also want to thank the I don't know if Nick Simmons is here tonight. I wouldn't presume he has an item on the agenda, but the Extension Office that worked with the GCA and NRYO to put on the livestock fair a week ago Saturday on the 22nd or 23rd of 23rd of March. It was we had a couple hundred kids showing animals, several hundred other people in attendance, watching the kids show the animals, and the children had worked for 6 or 7 months on their pigs and their goats and their rabbits and their certainly their cows and steers, and it was it's great to see young people so involved. And it coincided with a big Easter egg hunt, as well as the Blue Jacket Jamboree, where they had a car show and a lot of vendors set up, and that is done by the Northview FFA alumni chapter, which we might remember was recognized as the finest FFA alumni chapter in the nation this past year. So I want to thank the Northview FFA alumni for putting on the Blue Jacket, especially for the last 4 or 5 years. It's been paired with the livestock show, and it's just a lovely day on the 4-H property out there in Molino. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to echo comments or condolences and prayers for Don Trosh and her family in the loss of her mother. And also just a quick update on the fire. We are set up an evacuation center at Liberty Church. We have ECAT with 2 buses over there assisting with evacuations. We have animal services there on scene helping with evacuations of pets and animals, and we'll keep you updated as we move through the evening.
Thank you. Entertain a motion for proclamations.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, please vote. Proclamations pass 4-0. First is going to be commending and congratulating Ms. Samantha Mitchell, Maintenance Technician in Facilities Department, for selection as Employee of the Month. Mr. Rob Hogan making his way forward.
Good evening.
Evening.
Thank you for this time. I'm very proud to present Employee of the Month to Ms. Samantha Mitchell. Sam Mitchell, as we call her, Sam, we all know and love her. Maintenance Technician in the Facilities Management Department, began her employment with the county on August 29th, 2022, and she's selected for Employee of the Month for April 2024 for the standards of excellence she displays in the performance of her duties. Whereas Sam's first assignments constituted painting various county buildings, where her professional demeanor and her outstanding craftsmanship for her work warranted high praise in the performance of her duties. Sam is a dedicated and fast learner who does not shy away from new tasks and will develop her skills in other areas of the field. Sam played an instrumental role in the refurbishment of the Davisville Community Center, taking the lead and completing the project in-house, which resulted in approximately $25,000 savings for the county. Sam's bright outlook on her work and collaborative nature make her a positive influence with her peers and the department that she works with. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, hereby commends and congratulates Ms. Samantha Sam Mitchell in her selection as Employee of the Month for April 2024. Signed, the Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Florida, Stephen Barry, Chairman, District 5, Jeff Bergosh, District 1, Michael Kohler, District 2, and Lumen May, District 3. Thank you, Sam. Say a few words if you want.
Thank you. It's really rare to find a job that you enjoy and where you feel valued, and I truly appreciate it, and it's an honor.
Thank you. Well, check time and picture time.
The shy gentleman behind her,
is my husband,
Oh, great. Hey.
Mr. Mitchell.
Mr. Mitchell. That's yours also?
Mr. Chairman, I want to share just how much I appreciate Sam as well. Got to know her a little bit, but she was doing some painting on the fourth floor. She's also seems to be pretty good at woodworking as well. She's made some things for me, and she just does a fantastic job with a fantastic attitude, and Sam very much deserved, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you. Picture time. And if you've got some friends from work, they're welcome to come up and take pictures with you. If you've got some friends here.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, thank you. Next proclamation is adopting the proclamation declaring 2024 as Donate Life Month. Jeff? you have
All
the
right.
floor.
Are there representatives from the organization who would like to come forward? Yeah, all of y'all. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Absolutely. Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to go ahead and read this proclamation in honor of Donate Life Month. Whereas National Donate Life Month was instituted by Donate Life America and its members in 2003. It grew out of a federally proclaimed National Organ and Tissue Donation Awareness Week and is celebrated throughout the month of April every year. And whereas National Donate Life Month is a time when the donation and transplantation community concentrates its years-long effort to educate Americans about the critical shortage of donated organs and tissue and other life-saving gifts, and to remind them of the importance of documenting one's own donation decision. And whereas more than 100,000 patients are on the national waiting list for organ transplants, and whereas of them, approximately 5,000 are listed at transplant centers in Florida. According to the United Network for Organ Sharing, as of January 2024, 478 of them are listed at UF Health Shands Transplant Center in Gainesville. 1,026 are listed at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, and 156 are listed at Ascension Sacred Heart right here in Pensacola. And whereas the need for organ, eye, and tissue donation remains critical, as approximately 20 people die each day while awaiting life-saving organ transplants, and whereas LifeQuest Organ Recovery Services honors individual donor designations to ensure families' opportunities to donate and to maximize the gift of life through organ donation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, hereby declare the month of April 2024 as Donate Life Month in Escambia County, Florida, to raise awareness of the critical need for organ donation by willing individuals. Signed by the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida. Stephen Berry, Chairman, District 5, Jeff Bergosh, District 1, Michael Kohler, District 2, and Lumen J. May, District 3. Thank you. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you. My name is Tammy Ward. I'm the Public Education Coordinator for the 6 counties, Holmes, Washington, and through Pensacola, Escambia County. As he mentioned, more than 100,000 people are waiting and more than 5,000 right here in Florida. So just think about what you'd like to do, and if you can't take them with you to heaven, heaven needs them here. So think about that for organ donation. I'm part of LifeQuest Organ Recovery Services. We also have LifeNet, who is the tissue donation here as well. And I want to introduce you to Katie Walton. She is one of our ambassadors. She is a liver and kidney recipient, and she's almost at 12 years.
Wait, hold one side.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Bergosh. Commissioner May, recognizing Fair Housing Month. Al, yeah.
I think Al and the board's here, but before Al come, tonight I had the opportunity to speak to someone who, to me, has dedicated her life to affordable housing and fair housing. I think when I think of my dad, I think about trying to afford affordable housing. But Betty Salter's here, and Betty, thank you so much, Betty, for what you've done. I mean, you don't have to come up with thank you. I mean, I see Tim back there, but the many years that you served and we worked together and you never got paid at Habitat, and to make sure that people, particularly poor people, could have a house and have fair housing and quality housing, Betty, means so much to me, and it was just an honor for you to be in here. Thank you so much, Betty. Whereas April 11, 2024 marks the 56th year anniversary of the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act. Whereas Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act prohibits discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of dwellings because of race, color, religion, sex, or family status, or national origin. Whereas the federal and state laws, as well as the city local ordinance, affirms the right of every person to equal housing opportunity. Whereas the Federal Fair Housing Act strives toward economic stability, community health, and human relations in all communities to improve diversity and integration. The Act's goal is to support ongoing education, outreach, monitoring to raise awareness of fair housing principle, practices, rights, as well as responsibilities. Whereas the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners in the city of Pensacola, through Pensacola Human Relations Commission, vigorously enforce the Fair Housing Act to address discriminatory activity on behalf of individuals and families who have been victimized. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, hereby declares April 2024 as Fair Housing Month in Escambia County, Florida, to honor and commend federal fair housing employees of Pensacola for their continued and dedicated service to our community. Board of County Commissioner Stephen Berry, Chairman, Jeff Bagash, District 1, Mike Kohler, District 2, Lumen May, District 3. Al and your staff, thank you for your service.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner, for that. Commissioner Barry, appreciate you for having me here. So, you know, Sabrina Fletcher, who is our Fair Housing Specialist, also have my board member, Vice Chair Brian Wire. Well, she's the one who hears all these people who call with the complaints. So Sabrina has to sit down and listen because they're at a point where they are distraught. So when they can't find a place to stay, Sabrina's there to help them out. So we just appreciate you all for being partners with us and supporting us in this effort, because we know that if they don't have a place to lay their head, it's challenging for them. They don't know where they're going to rest at. They don't know how to get to the school. They have a lot of issues. And so I appreciate my staff. I'm just here standing in the gap for them, but they actually do all the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner May. Did the clerk's office receive proof of publication?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Entertain a motion to waive. Thank you.
Yeah, waive the reading.
Is there a second? Thank you. Please vote. Waiving the reading passes 4-0. Public hearing 531, public hearing to consider the vacation of Cantonment Park subdivision plat. Board, we do have a number of speakers about this. Stacy, do you want to show any images or put an image up on the screen for the board?
We do have an aerial in the backup if they want to put that up. That might make it easier.
Just so, we have 6 speakers, board, so just as a reference, if we can flash up an aerial. Well, we'll work on that. Hopefully we can get that up there momentarily. The first speaker is going to be Sharon Wolf.
My name is Sharon Wolf. My address is on 534 Benjamin Road in Cantonment, Florida.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My husband and I received a letter stating about this meeting and the intention to vacate. And I called, and also a picture of the blue, where the area is that they want to vacate. And so I called to ask about it. And I was told from this office that they wanted to, the current owner, Martin Coe, wanted to remove the lot lines and have, in order to have one property, one big property. And our concerns is that on the property is a wetlands, it's full of water, not a little bit, a lot. And our concerns is what are they going to do with that property? Is it going to be apartments? Is it going to be townhouses? Is it going to be multiple living apartments and such as that, in town, condominiums? And how they, and also the road. Our road is, you go down our road quite a ways, but there's dead end. The only way out is the way you came in, which will be straight by the railroad track. And I mean, the road goes parallel to the, I'm nervous, parallel to.
You're doing fine.
Who said? And the pictures up there, now that picture is different, a little different than the picture they gave us here. We have one solid picture that has a different. But we're interested in finding out what they're going to build, and what if they do, what are they going to do about the drainage? Because with it being quite a bit of water there all the time, it doesn't just drain down, it's there. And where's that water going to go? And what if it goes into the road I'm on, all the homes there will be flooded possibly. And so I'd like to know about all of that. And personally, I'd like to see it left with the lot lines, so it would be more like single-family homes, whatever that home might be, mobile home, brick homes, wood houses, then a multiple of apartments and upstairs, one or two layers, apartment buildings,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
even more.
Miss-
Is it over?
That's okay. You did fine. Your time is up, though, Ms.
Okay.
Moore. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Donna Edens.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to address the difference in the maps.
Okay.
The map that is shown here is what staff includes for the backup.
Okay.
The mail-out is provided by the applicant. It is in a different color, but it is the same shape. It is the same area.
The substance is the same, just the
substance is
colors.
the same,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right, I understand. Ms. Edens?
First, I just want to thank Mr. Burgosh. I hope I'm saying that right. We've been here for a little bit, and I was watching every one of your faces. And I want to say thank you to you because you gave every single person eye contact. You seemed like you were hearing, not just listening, not passively listening, not playing on your computer. I just want to say thank you for that. It goes a long way. That was my mother, and I agree. There's a lot of water back there. And that water, I don't know where it's coming from, but it's definitely not receding. And it will put all those properties at risk for flooding. And I know y'all hear it all the time, but sometimes it's just not listened to. So I'm hoping it will be listened to and that the flooding is addressed. There's so much development going on right now, especially in District 5. And maybe it's time to let that development develop before more development happens. So I also agree those lots need to stay lots. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next speaker is Donnie Coates.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
I live at 602 Benjamin, and I agree with the ladies that spoke. My family has owned my property for about 40 to 50 years, and the land that they have right there is nothing but swamp. Every time it rains, it's always swampy. The beginning of it on Nowak and Benjamin ain't nothing but swamp. My concerns is if they do build, they build it up, where is it going? Probably to our property. So I agree with them. I think they shouldn't leave it alone. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Next speaker is Greg Davis.
Good evening.
Evening.
Thank you for having us be able to speak on this issue. I agree with what Sharon and the others have spoken about with the the wastewater situation, wastewater management. This plat has been on record with Escambia County for over 50 years currently, and it has not been developed on. There's a reason why it hasn't been developed on. The wastewater situation is not going to go away. And when you put any kind of establishment in this small area with so many surrounding residents, that is only going to impact directly all of us that currently live there, currently have existing homes, currently have existing families in the surrounding area. You put too many whatever developments in this small niche of a piece of property, it's only going to impact everyone in the surrounding area, not only with wastewater, as everybody has spoken about, but also if they did come up with a solution for wastewater, and it normally does flow to the east. If we have a solution for wastewater, they would consider it a retention pond. Well, somebody's got to maintain that retention pond. The retention pond just doesn't hold water, and then it just dissipates. How are they going to have access to that retention pond that doesn't impact the current residents within that area? That's going to be another huge problem. In my time of living on this piece of, in my residence at 514 Benjamin Road, I've been there for 13 years. I've enjoyed living there. It's been wonderful being in the area. But one of the biggest issues that I have right now, and one of the things that has been an impact, is the location of streets and access ways. There's going to be a large issue, as there already is an issue right now. If you increase the traffic on Old Novak, you increase the traffic on 95A. Currently, the last entrance to access Old Novak is from El Camino. If there's no other access for this new development or whatever they put in, you're still only at El Camino. Let's think about CSX. They stopped the train on El Camino. Now you've blocked in residents that may have an emergency, may have something coming up that they have to get out. They can't get out. Emergency personnel can't get in. But now you've added X amount of new residents in this small area. That's going to impact not only emergency situations, but also it's going to impact the livelihoods of the existing families and possibly the future families. Just read through my notes.
You've got just a couple seconds left, Mr. Davis.
The last thing I want to go through is a lot of us are on the septic tank. And with this new development, are they going to be tapped into a county waste, the county sewer? And if so, are we going to be, those that are on septic, are we going to be required to change over to the county sewer? And if so, who's going to pay for that? Are we going to have to pay for that, or will the developer have to pay for that?
Mr. Davis, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Next speaker is Carolyn Bramblett.
For the last several months, I've had 2 houses being built directly across the street from my house, and I live on Kathleen, just down the road from this subdivision. So the people, one of my lots is really low, so the people that are building those 2 houses brought in, I think, 200 truckloads of red dirt. And in the summer when the rains came real hard, our stream lot is absolutely filled with red dirt now. And that's wet. It's not tagged wetland, but there seems to be no actual oversight for the implications further on down the road. I just don't think that we should be voting to vacate something that there's not a good plan for, that we can take a look at. The state had mandates all those years ago, and I just feel like we keep getting shafted, that rather than people having homes on a nice-sized piece of property, I grew up in Southern California. I don't want to be jam-packed in, and I don't think that other stuff around infrastructure is enough. So that's it. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bramblett. Next speaker is Tom Hammond.
Tom Hammond, 3802 Northwest Street. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners, for letting us speak. We're simply asking to change property lines. You go to the property appraiser's site and fill out a form there and take 4 lots that you own, turn it into 1. But we have a recorded plat here. We're just asking to vacate it. We're not.
Return the microphone.
We're not proposing to build anything. We could get into all that, but I don't think this is the place for it. This isn't the forum for that. We got plenty of other processes, DRC, pre-apps, all kind of other things if we want to develop the property. We're just encumbered by a plat that's decades old, and my client's asking to change the property lines from what you see there to one big piece of property. That's what we're asking tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, board, that's all the speakers. Any comments, questions? Yes, yeah, it is my district. We can leave that image up. That's, if you don't mind, you can leave that image up. So the action that we're taking tonight is simply vacating a plat from, I don't remember the year, but 50s or 60s, a long period of time. It's not approving what's going to happen on the property. I don't know what that is. I haven't seen plans or heard what that would be, but the concerns are, the concerns raised by the residents that live there. We have done quite a bit of work in that area the last few years. Some of those roads were very poor that run to the east of Old Novak there, and there's been quite a bit of improvements put on those roads. But the concerns that the residents have raised about the stormwater management, and I've never walked the property or anything, but it does look like a very deep green, and there may be some wetness on the property, and those things are going to have to be managed. The residents, especially the ones on the north side of Benjamin, they're going to have to make sure that those folks aren't negatively impacted by whatever the plan is on the resulting property. One main aspect of our development review process is going to be that the stormwater be managed on their own property, that it not negatively impact the neighbors, and so those, the residents' concerns there are genuine, and as whatever happens with the property begins its process, we'll try to make sure that those concerns are managed, and that Mr. Coe or whoever develops the property ends up abiding by the code, and most importantly, doesn't have a negative impact on those residents to the south, especially the ones that do border the property. But again, the action tonight is just vacating a what is an odd plat, if you look at it. Who knows what the intent was at the original time, but regardless, it is something I support, Commissioner. If one of you would make a motion, I would appreciate it.
If you're good with it, Mr. Chairman, I'll move the
Thank you.
item.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. If there's no comments, then we can vote. Item passes 4-0 to vacate the plat. 532, public hearing. I'm sorry, item passes 4-0. I might have said 5-0, 4-0.
And that's A, B, C, and D, I assume?
That was my impression, yes. 532, public hearing. Stacy?
We do have an aerial for this if
Okay.
anyone needs to see it.
All right, if you don't mind flashing it up, that's fine. All right, board, we do have no speakers. This is also in District 5. We do not have anybody here. It is something that I support. And 30-second background, there is some county unopened right-of-way that that we will not be building on, nor maintaining. And so the vacation serves a purpose of just kind of making it clear to anyone that lives in the area that we will not be building or maintaining any of that area in the future. So
It's your district and you support it?
Yes,
And,
sir.
If you do, I move the item.
thank you.
Second.
All right, and that's, I apologize, that is A through C?
Yes, sir.
Thank
That's
you.
my intentions.
Thank you. All right, please vote. Item passes 4-0. I'm sorry, 533, public hearing. We have no speakers. I'd entertain a motion
So
for
moved, Mr. Chairman.
A, 1 through 4, and B.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And B.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Item passes 4-0. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. I have 3 items on the consent agenda. The first one is the February investment report. There's also disposal of documents and minutes and reports that we've prepared. At this time, I'd also like to memorialize into the record, over 2.5 years ago, I was asked, is the 401A local plan legal? I was here at the meeting. I responded, it is illegal. My counsel reported it is illegal. On April 3rd, Judge Stone entered into an order of which I will read the ruling. It is not lawful for an elected officer, e.g. county commissioners, to participate in the local plan. The county's contributions to the local plan on behalf of the county commissioners constitute unlawful compensation. The clerk properly exercised discretion in ceasing to make payments to the local plan. Therefore, it is ordered and adjudged that the county's requests for a preemptory writ of mandamus and other relief are denied. I am formally and publicly requesting that the repayment of the funds back into the county's treasury. I would hope that we could work cooperatively on this and jointly communicate with FRS. It is not in the best interest of Escambia County as a whole to further pursue this dispute with the District Court of Appeals. I just want that in the record. This was a long and costly and unnecessary litigation. In a change of subject, I am requesting return to access to OpenGov for my disbursement staff. Their access was turned off immediately following a dialogue between my internal auditor and a member of the county on a procurement matter, and that was the result by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This action is costing my staff time, and it inhibits our ability to efficiently audit and timely process payments. In the name of transparency, I would appreciate your cooperation for access to systems. I show the same respect to you. Thank you.
You have an item on the agenda, Madam Clerk? Okay. So, Board, I'd entertain a motion for the clerk's report.
Move the clerk's report.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none?
Well, I do want to say one thing.
Yeah.
And this is, sometimes you're the nail and sometimes you're the hammer. And this week, the board's kind of been the nail. And I would like to make, I'd like to see the board work with the clerk. I really would. And the clerk, I've told you that publicly. I obviously didn't support that, but I hope we can move on collegially. I don't know why you don't have OpenGov. It seems like you should. Is there any good reason why, Wes?
That access decision was made of the former department director without any permission or discussion with administration.
So is it something that we could entertain giving back?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, yes, it is something we can discuss.
Okay. I appreciate it if you did. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
All right, please vote on the clerk's report. Item passes 4-0. Forrest?
Just tonight, the GMR with the parking ordinance by the county engineer and her team. But we do have the consent agenda.
Thank you. Joy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good evening. Just wanted to bring you a brief update on where we stand with this ordinance. Oops, that's the old version. Gosh, sorry. Let's not put that up on the display. Wanted to go, let me just give you the update. In August, you can take that off the overhead, thank you. In August 23, the board gave us some direction to bring back some changes, revise this ordinance so that we could talk about adequate parking. And in August of 23, we had a PAC meeting and started that discussion. In November of 23, we had a second PAC meeting, and I wanted to give you this background for how much public input we've had through this process. In January, we also had met with the planning board. They were not pleased with the ordinances the way we'd presented it, so we came back presenting it to you for your input on February. And coincidentally, February 13, Sheriff Simmons did an interview with Andrew McKay, and he confirmed that he gets daily calls, just as the commissioners had pointed out. I think the chairman pointed that out. And he gets daily calls confirming that there's problems with parking in the area, and it's with single family as well as apartments. So in February, we also went back to the PAC and discussed some of the input we had received and how we were going to bring it forward to you again. So here we are today suggesting that, proposing that, rather, that every single family home should have at least 3 parking spaces. And if there are more than 3 bedrooms in that home, we should have 4. And a multifamily, which being condos or apartments, should have a minimum of 2 parking spaces per unit and 1 plus for every additional bedroom over 2. In other words, every 3 bedrooms should have 3, 4 bedrooms should have 4. Also, we also made a modification to add in the dorm style so that they would have 1 space per bed, not bedroom, but per bed, because sometimes they double up. So what we're proposing still allows for garages to count. If you have a 2-car garage, that's 2 parking places. And again, every parking space, just as it is in our parking lot, or let's not use our garage as an example, but in a normal parking lot, a parking space 9 by 18. So that's the spatial requirement, as opposed to some discussions that were larger than that. I think the other allowance that we've considered is that habitat or affordable homes, as they are detached single-family home construction, we would consider a reduction of parking there if they may not have garages, so that we would still allow them the 2 as opposed to 3. We've had a lot of input to call some names perhaps, but we have met with quite a few of the engineering groups that come through quite often, and we've been using this ordinance as a pending ordinance for, well, since August, since you gave us that clear direction that you wanted us to start now. So we did, and we worked with several development groups, Main Street, Horton, Hammond Engineering. We worked with Rebo Battle. We've worked with Fitzpatrick, and in all cases, even the things we might not have agreed on, they found they can work through it. We've been able to adjust through allowances, giving a little less of a setback so that they'd have more room to make a longer driveway, something to that effect, so that everything works together for good. So we appreciate your time and we appreciate your tolerance, allowing us to work back and forth through this, because it's a challenge, and we think we've come to something that is, while everybody's not happy, that's probably the right place to be.
Thank you, Joy. Board, any questions?
Do we have any speakers on this?
Yes, we do. We do have some. First speaker is Teresa Blackwell.
Good evening, Teresa Blackwell. I live in Beulah.
Could you pull the mic down some? Yeah.
Pull the mic down. Teresa Blackwell. 3 minutes. Wow. Okay, so I did talk with Tom Hammond, and he seems to be okay with it. So, but what the comment I would make, it's kind of from a different direction. I think there are some problems in the county, but this ordinance is a really broad brush, which does more than subdivisions and apartments, and it also covers business. So I've got an outline here, which I have shuffled. Okay, so so I'm not thrilled with it. So you got me at least not thrilled with it. At the planning board, Jay Ingwell suggested the change on allowing garages to count. And so that was a change in the document that came back. And so that does make a difference. But the chart in there with the overall chart with all the different types of structures and buildings and businesses, it's exactly the same from what I could see. And so why are we regulating all these? It seems like the businesses, I mean, I feel like Larry Downs up here, but waving my freedom flag, can't these businesses determine? Surely they're not keeping people from parking in their parking lots. I think they could better determine that than we can. Tell a story. I was, I went to the Congress for the New Urbanism a couple of years. It's a really intense thing, and in one of those, I was kind of the assistant to Donald Shoup, who's an engineer, and he is the guru on parking. So what he would say is we have too much parking in general, and you can see that in our big box stores. There's always a lot of it out there empty, and that's a space that could go to something else. That's concrete that was paid for, that is reflected in the price of what we buy there. And so Progressive Places, really, they're reducing parking. DPZ, when they did our master plan, their parking requirements, the word maximum of comes up much more than a minimum of. So that's the way really a lot of places are moving. Buffalo, Mr. Shoup talks about, completely took off their parking requirements in 2017. See if I can get to that. And that went well for them. They right-sized their parking. It says some of the businesses actually use more parking than required, but others less, and they were able to right-size that. And so then, the consumer doesn't end up paying, okay, for that extra pavement. So I think we have a few problems. We should have just gone for those few problems, not
Thank you.
the whole spectrum. Thank you.
Yep. Next speaker is Anita Geiner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to talk about the proposed parking changes. I believe maybe the commercial ones don't need a lot of change, but for sure, a lot of the subdivisions, apartments, et cetera, they definitely do. I don't know about all areas of town, but on our area of town, I know that Target and Publix have signs up. They keep getting people's car towed, because they're parking all over the side of the road. And it's going to impact the development that we're looking at Finley Drive because they have very few extra parking spots. And so I'm afraid they're going to park up and down Finley Drive over there as well if you don't require them to have adequate parking. And then it's going to be a safety issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Melissa Barbary.
Commissioner, while she's coming up, if I may. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The chart that you're seeing in the background has not been modified except for single-family and multifamily. Just for the record, we did not address anything with businesses. Thank you.
All right, Melissa.
Well, I was just coming up to say I'm so excited to hear that there's been something to address parking, because I know it has been an issue where we are. My church has experienced these apartments on University Parkway that have just gone up. They were approached to say, hey, can we park here? And they were like, you can't. And so they've had to put up tow-away zones. And I just went out on University Parkway today, and you can go out and they have cars up on the side of the road in the vacant lots that go to this apartment because they don't have enough parking. And when that apartment complex was put in, they met the requirements of the county, and we have seen that, there needed to be revisions. So I'm really excited that that's been worked on, and I really hope that you will take that on. I think it's great. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is James Gully. Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Mark Gottschalk.
Good evening, y'all. I wanted to speak in opposition to the raising of the parking minimums. I think anytime government interferes in business, there are unintended knock-on effects from that. And I just wanted to talk to some of the unintended consequences that may come from increasing that parking minimum. One of which is that, of course, driveways are going to become bigger. And when driveways become bigger to accommodate those more spaces, what happens? Lot sizes become bigger. When lot sizes are bigger, every foot wider that a lot gets, that's another foot of wire, that's another foot of pipe, that's another foot of road that needs to be paid for. 2, another unintended consequence would be the runoff that happens from these inevitably impermeable surfaces, right? And we've already heard from one group of people that was here today talking about their concerns with runoff. Increasing the amount of runoff into our watersheds is only going to heighten those issues. And then 3, this increases the cost of developing property. If right now we're in the middle of a housing affordability problem, this will increase the affordability of housing. It will decrease the affordability of housing. So I don't mean to say that the concerns about people parking on the side of the road are not valid, right? If you got cars parking on the side of the road, somebody jumps out in front of it, that's potentially a safety issue. But if the problem is the safety issue with cars, then the solution is not to get these parked cars off of the side of the road. The solution is to slow down the cars in these neighborhoods. If you think about the cost it would incur for every single new property to have to, I think it used to be 2 spaces, right? So that's 50% more concrete for every single lot at a minimum, right? Now that may not be necessarily incurred by the county, that's incurred by the developer, right? But that is money being taken away from homeowners. We're putting an undue burden to try to solve a problem that could be better solved another way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Victoria Griffin.
Well, I don't normally say this, but I do not support what the last speaker spoke about. If you go down University Drive and you go by University of West Florida, you'll notice how bad the parking is. You'll notice why better standards are needed here. I've been in some subdivisions in Pensacola where you can't even park on the street because it is so tight. So I do support having better ordinances on the parking. So y'all, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention, and I approve it. I hope y'all will approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker is Jean Brown.
Hello again. I'm Jean Brown of 1475 Finley Drive. I encourage the Board of County Commissioners to vote for and adopt the parking demand ordinance. A minimum of 3 parking spaces for single-family dwellings, including townhomes, and at least 4 parking spaces for 4 or 5 bedroom dwellings is a logical, realistic, common sense allowance. Most homes have at least 2 vehicles and also need guest parking. Passage of this ordinance will prevent desperation parking at nearby homes, businesses, and streets, and will increase safety and convenience. People will find a place to park, approved or not. Passage of this ordinance will help to eliminate parking problems. Please solve problems, do not create problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, that was all the speakers. Comments or questions or a motion?
No, Mr. Chairman, you know, as you know, I'm in full support. I think there's some more that we need to do, but obviously you're going to have my support tonight. If you need a motion, I'm prepared to make it.
All right, super. Any other comments, Mike?
I'd like to
Yeah.
just say something. First of all, Joy, thanks for adding the garages. I'm lukewarm on this, I'll be honest. Whenever the government gets involved and it starts to make assumptions that 4 bedrooms have 4 cars and 3 bedrooms have 3 cars, my mom and dad had 2 head spot, and we had 4 bedrooms in our house, and we only had 2 cars. So, but you're right. What's happening out on University Parkway is obviously can be a situation. When we make public policy that for a whole county based on isolated situations, I'm not sure we should be doing that. I do think we need 2 parking spots per 2 to 3 bedroom, but I don't think we need 4 for 4 bedroom. I think that's an overreach. I just do. So that, I just think it's too much, Joy, for that, because we're really making a lot of assumptions on that there are going to be 4 cars, and I'm not sure I'm there, but we'll see if there's any more comments.
Jeff, I can't say this. Oh, okay. I'm happy with it. I mean, there were clearly changes that needed to be made, and I'm pleased with where we are. I don't know if it's exactly where we where we stay forever, but it's certainly I'm pleased with the progress. I want to thank Joey and Chris Phillips both for working on it. Commissioner May, any comments before we potentially take action on the parking issue?
No, Commissioner. I mean, I know it's an issue. I know it's an issue in Ansley for me. I know it's a problem on University Parkway for Dr. Saunders and the university, and it's just, the safety of people having to walk at midnight on University Parkway. It is a real issue, and parking is the issue, and I think it's the creativity of the developer to figure out how to make the product affordable, that they can get ROI. I mean, it's not my responsibility to get into the development side of, cost. So, I mean, but it is important to me to look at what's happening to our university in other neighborhoods as it relates to parking. So,
especially if we hope to continue to grow, grow the student population there, and there's the holistic part of the students that are living on campus, and those. I mean, I think we can consider those that are on University Parkway on campus, even though they literally are outside the footprint. Those are also on-campus students, and that's what really builds a university. One of the issues the university suffered for many decades, including when a number of us went there, was it was primarily a commuter school. There were very few residences on the property, and I think this will help to ensure the safety of as we try to continue to add students to that population.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, if we don't plan for the growth, then shame on us. I mean, we're the recipients of actions of those who preceded us in many ways that we have to take the responsibility for.
Good and bad.
Good and bad. I mean, we get no matter. We'll get it all. It doesn't matter. But to me, it's important for the safety, and people are going to park somewhere, and people don't want traffic congestions. They want to be able to be safe, but we don't provide parking. I mean, if you don't provide students with a parking space, they're going to park, and they're just going to park on the road, and now we got a traffic congestion. I mean, you're not going to stop people from, being affordable, and when you look at, you're renting out an apartment, and you're in a room to 2 students per room. Now it's 6 people in there, and they're all going to park.
And they end up parking. Not only is it very unsafe, they're also parking on the sidewalk that the board spent a lot of money on putting sidewalks because of the walking people. Young people, a lot of them walk and jog and walk their dogs on the sidewalks, and now those sidewalks are being blocked by cars parking there. And yeah, it's hard to fault the young people for parking there because one of the speakers mentioned what you just said as well, Lumen, was that people are going to park somewhere. When they're going somewhere, going to the buddy's house or going home, they're going to park.
They're going to park.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
you know.
And now we got tickets, we got citations, we got all type of things.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we got to provide adequate parking. I mean, and so it's up to the developer to go find out where he's going to develop his property. I mean, when you start developing in an urban core, I mean, look at what parking costs downtown Pensacola right now. I mean,
I hear they're expensive.
Yeah, parking costs. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, parking garages, I mean, parking is a part of any performer of any development.
Yeah.
Parking costs money. I mean, it simply does. It's not free.
Any other comments, board?
So, no, that's all. I mean, I'm going to, thanks, Joe, y'all, I'm going to
The only
support it.
thing that, and I agree with everything at UWF, I think there should have been carve-outs. You know, in the last week, I learned more about parking than I ever really wanted to in my life. Michael Carroll came up to my office and kind of what Ms. Blackwell said about what happened at Civicon with parking. I don't like the one-size-fits-all for the county, and for me, it doesn't make sense. I've lived in a lot of urban cities. This is a little bit different. For me, Joy, I think it's just too much parking, but I appreciate your work.
Board, entertain a motion.
I move the item in the affirmative.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Any dissent? Item passes 3-1 with Commissioner Kohler in dissent. Board, entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Consent agenda passes 4-0. Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 8 items on the technical public service consent agenda. There are no changes. Please hold for speakers car 1-5.
All right, and we need to hold, I'm sorry, nothing in one, I apologize.
I move the balance, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Car 1, technical public service consent agenda passes 4-0. Mr. Administrator?
Mr. Keith Bowe.
He's on car 5, 1-5.
The idea of electric buses in our climate and our infrastructure makes absolutely no sense. Just quickly doing the math, our contribution of $4.5 million to get $41 million, if we could have that $41 million to fix Gulf Beach Highway, then we could have electric buses that don't have to run through puddles and get shorted out. I just think this is short-sighted. It's just because the money's out there doesn't mean we have to function in a dystopia. I'm going to keep it short.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mike, second. All right, please vote. Item passes 3-0 with Commissioner Bergosh off the dais. Mr. Administrator?
Thank you. There are 29 items on the budget finance consent agenda. Please make the following changes. Hold card 2-20, the recommendation concerning contract award for the general, paving and drainage agreement, PD 22-23.126, for Commissioner Berry to abstain.
Entertain a motion for the balance.
Mr. West, did we work on, on the
We did. We have an updated agreement, 1 year.
I'm sorry, Wes, I apologize. I didn't see it, so we just, we went 1 year, Wes? Thank you. All right. So I move the balance, Mr. Chairman, then.
All right, thank you. Please vote. Budget and Finance passes 3-0 with Commissioner Bergosh off the dais. 220, I, Stephen Berry, hereby disclose on April 4, 2020.
Hold on, you're not going to have a quorum to vote until we have Commissioner Bergosh.
Well, can we go to something else so we can get out of
Yeah,
here?
all right. Mr. Administrator?
My car 3-1 discussion is OLF 8.
All right, I hear a door. All right, here's Jeff, never mind. All right, so we'll go back to 20. I, Stephen Berry, hereby disclose on April 4, 2024, measure came before my agency which inured to the special gain or loss of Ryan Shavers, by whom I am retained. The measure before my agency and the nature of my conflicting interest in the measure is as follows. The Escambia County Board of County Commissioners meeting, April 4, 2024, County Administrator's Report, Item 2-20, recommendation concerning contract award for the general paving and drainage agreement, PD 22-23.126, presents a conflict of interest pursuant to Statute 112.3143 Florida statutes, where the appearance of a conflict of interest pursuant to Statute 286.012 Florida statutes, because Ryan Shavers, principal of Shavers Construction, is my client. I'd
So
entertain a
I'm
motion.
moving, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Any dissent? Any abstentions? One. Item passes 3-0 with Commissioner Barry abstaining. Mr. Administrator.
Discussion item, CAR 3 is for OLF 8, property discussion.
All right, Board, we do have a few speakers. Would we like to hear from those?
Yes.
All right. First speaker is Teresa Blackwell.
This is a discussion item. It's not an action item, is it? Okay.
Correct.
She left.
I apologize. And Fred Himmer and Will Dunaway, the other two speakers, they can speak in whichever order they'd like, if they'd like to. All right, Will.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. My name is Will Dunaway, and I represent the group that has before you and has been negotiating with you for purchase of the OLF 8. It is on the agenda for discussion, but my clients are very much interested in making a deal tonight, and so we'd like to move forward. You have the red line. We've gone back and forth. We're ready to move forward. Love to hear that and move it forward. Here to answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Hemmer's also here.
All right, thank you, Will. Teresa, you missed when I called you. Do you want to speak?
Oh.
Please, if you're going to speak.
Hello, again. So basically, you know, I've kind of got deal fatigue. And if I feel that way, imagine how they feel. They've been coming back and forth and doing, you know, all they can to get this deal going. They've made a good deal, and I trust them. They'll follow the master plan as much as possible. And, you know, it's time to, I mean, we can lose this deal at this point if we don't, you know, it's time to say yes. That's what I would say. So that's about all I had prepared. I was all into parking today. But, so, you know, it's time we, you know, we're just negotiating. We're not, this won't even be the final thing, but we're just saying we'll solely negotiate with them for a while. So let's do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Board, Will and Fred are both here are both certainly in the audience and have the opportunity to speak or answer, or would be willing to answer questions, I presume. But discussion really comes to us. Commissioner Burgash?
Yeah, Stephen, I did look at the red line, and it looks like a lot of our issues, I mean, were resolved. I understand the price isn't necessarily what any of us like, but just speaking about the contract specifically, since this is the only venue where we can talk about this, you know, I would really like to see something get done. I know we all would. I want the best deal for the taxpayers, but at some point, you know, it's never going to be a perfect deal. So I guess, you know, I would ask Steve, is there more stuff in the contract itself that you would like to see changed?
Yeah, yes, there is. But one of the big items that continues to be put in and relates to the timeline. And, you know, I understand the want to do a deal. There's, you know, there's no one that wants to do the deal, or wants to do a deal out there more than I do. You know, I know that you've said that. I would argue that I want a deal as much as you. However, it's these are, you know, it's important that it's it's important that it's the right deal, because it's going to be a deal that we're linked to perpetually. So that's important. And you know, the timeline issue, I know the timeline is a big deal to you, and there continues to be language about closing dates being contingent on the receipt of entitlements and guarantees of entitlements, which, you know, that I like Fred, I like Will. I don't really know the Rob gentleman, but, you know, I like them. I believe that they say that that they're going to want to move and close and those kind of things, but the way the language is, it puts the closing really in their court. It says upon receipt of entitlements, which we have some control over the timeline for the granting of entitlements. That's not going to happen in 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. For all the entitlements on the property, And those things aren't going to happen in that timeline. But we do have, at least in that regard, we do have some influence over it. What we don't have influence over is how long those requests might take to come in, how long it might take to amend, to amend a plan, to amend an application that might be, that we might not find favor with, and, we say, well, let's bring it back. In my opinion, what we're doing, if we were to execute this agreement, is we're encumbering the property with no guarantee of any timeline for closing. If the applications don't come in, if there's not a, if they make a request for this and then they're said, we say, well, that will work. They can hold the submittal of that request until they have a lessee or a deal on the other side. We have no control.
On that particular item, if there were language that kind of narrowed that down and put a date certain on that, maybe 12 months, 9 months, whatever, would that satisfy you?
Something along that sort, yes.
Okay.
I mean, with regard to that issue, yeah.
Okay.
I will say, and I wouldn't expect them to commit to something like that this evening. That does seem to be an issue, though. I will tell you that does seem to be an issue. So I don't know if that's, I don't know if that is going to allow us to get, over there, over the hump. But that's a big deal, and it's a concern to me, but it's also a recognition by me that I think it's the biggest concern that you have is the closing timeline, the due diligence timeframe. So I don't want to have the appetite to get a deal done that actually, okay, and this is not this deal, but we have had conversations with other people, and I'm just going to use an example of right of first refusal on a parcel. At the time that we would enter into an agreement, and we're going to sell 5 acres to somebody, we're going to give them a right of refusal on another 20 acres. We've basically locked in our top end price on the 25 acres with only receiving the money for 5. I mean, in essence, that's what that's done. We've basically encumbered the 20 acres that our partner is not paying for by giving them the right of first refusal by that. And then if anyone else has an interest in it, they really aren't negotiating with us. They're negotiating with the partner that has the right of first refusal at the price that they have right of first refusal at.
So
that's the starting point.
So the 250 acres, the right of first right of refusal.
I'm sorry, that doesn't have anything to do with this.
Okay.
But my point is, by entering into an agreement like that where we would give somebody a right of first refusal, I feel like there are similarities to accepting language that has an open-ended or ambiguous closing timeframe on it where it's receipt of all entitlements. Well, we can't control when you make applications. We can't control when your engineer changes something or when your attorney is going to, redline a document back to. We don't have control over that side of the equation. We have some control over our side, but just say we get to the point that we're getting close to all the entitlements being received. The market's stagnant or what have you. We just get no agreement from them for 6 months. The agreement, I mean, we're still within the terms of our contract. We can't terminate the contract because the entitlements haven't been received, but we're also not getting paid. We also, we can't, and I'm not saying that's likely. I'm just, to me, that's a huge deal to leave us exposed where a year from now, 2 years from now, you have probably genuine criticism that could come down and say, what are you guys doing? You entered into a contract with somebody. Are they going to close? I don't know. Maybe they close, maybe they don't. Are we ever going to get paid? I mean, you gave them an open-ended contract upon receipt of all entitlements. You can't give them entitlements they haven't asked for. So they just haven't received them, and you're not getting paid, but you can't do anything else with it. What were you guys thinking? And that's the risk that I'm trying to avoid. So that part of it is a big deal, and if that aspect is, you know, is solvable, then maybe we can continue. But I, you know, certainly like to hear from other colleagues, but that's a big deal to me. I monopolized a lot of time.
No, because I asked you the question. So the timeline for them their submittals and for the entitlements, if we could put some sort of a date certain on that and send that back to them. And then,
I still don't like the number. I mean, I know multifamily. I mean, there's a handful of multifamily projects that are in that area that are closing at $100,000 an acre.
Right.
I know. I mean, well,
63.
so, you know, and I mean, there are, and there's not, and Mike, that's one example. And, you know, one example may be an outlier, but that's not the only example. There's a couple of large tracts in the area. You know, smaller tracts may have a larger number per acre because they're smaller projects, but even some large tracts a little bit east of there that, you know, they paid, you know, that were sold for more than $100,000 an acre for multifamily. So, you know, the commercial retail aspect, including our front feed on 9 Mile, it's hard to imagine that that's not going to be at least that much. And I'm not saying the whole 290 is front feed. I mean, your front feed only are going to go 500 feet deep or something, so that's only a certain amount of acreage, but that acreage is extremely valuable.
Yeah,
you know, extremely valuable. So those are the two main aspects, Jeff. If you're asking what the concerns are, that's what mine.
yeah, and the reason I ask is because we all had our meetings with Wes and Allison and with Steve West to express our concerns, and I wanted to know if that was captured, if this was captured when they put it, and then it just came back from them, reverted. Is that what happened?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe so.
Well, and so let's talk top line price then, if we can, since we can't talk anywhere else. I mean, I'm just getting to a point where there's, this is the seventh party that's kind of made, that's made an offer, a proposal, expressed interests, and at some point, obviously, we want to maximize the value, but we also have to be realistic, and the economy is what it is, and it's not great, no matter what people want to tell you. Just go to the grocery store or the gas station, you'll figure that one out. But at some point, what's our price tag, Steve? 25, 30? I'd like to know. And
Wasn't the counter 25?
Counter was 25.
I mean, Jeff, if you, all that other stuff that you and Steve are going through, I'm sick of the conversation. We've talked about this for years. I mean, this project was happening before Steve and I were ever elected. I'd like to get it off the ground before we leave, but it's quite frankly, I'll follow your leadership and Steve, it's your districts, and, I'm not going to get in the middle of it. What I am going to get in the middle of it is price. And, a couple of clarifications for me is, once we receive the funds, how are they going to be distributed? Because all the citizens had investment.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not, to me,
5 ways.
It's going to be 5 ways, and we're going to be able to do good things for the people that put the money there. I mean, we had an offer for 22, had an offer for 20, they counted back at 25. I want to maximize it, but I do understand that the developer's taking a risk. But I'm not going to be at 20. And I've said that in the beginning, can you be at 22? I mean, we'd like to be at 25. I mean, because we got to take 18 out and pay the county back. And so our profit.
14.5.
Or 14, whatever it is. So then now we got to divide the balance of that 6 among 2 districts. And you just don't get a lot of sidewalks and lights for $1 million in your district. It just doesn't happen. Sure. So, I mean, I want to be able to go back to those that I represent and say this was a good investment for Escambia County. And you know what? On Mission Road, that's why we're able to get some more lights. And you know what? That's why I'm able to get some sewer in Inglewood and some sewer in Inslee.
You can get Kingsville Road extended. Do you think they'd be excited about that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Do you think they'd be excited about that?
Yeah, they'd be real excited about that. So, I mean, I got to, it has to make sense, Jeff. I want to get this supporting, get it off the road. I mean, I'm not going to get into that minute detail that, you and Steve were discussing, but I do, when you say that number, I mean, I wish it would be, I'm not going to say what the number should be. I mean, because a lot of people offer, but a lot of people don't put it in writing. And so we do have something in writing. I would just hope that, when we come back, we get it negotiated right, where we don't have to continue to have these discussions. And as you said, where is that number? I mean, I would say it's north of 22 for me.
I just remember a few years back when the economy was booming and we actually did an appraisal and the whole thing was 18 million. We're keeping 250 for the commerce, for the job creation, and once whoever we sell it to, once they start turning dirt and creating, whatever they create according to our master plan, that's going to generate jobs and it's going to generate ad valorem tax revenue for us, the school board. So I mean, I understand.
And Jeff, I would come completely with you
Yeah.
if we were true to what we said in the beginning, and that this was going to be an economic development project that's going to create high-paying jobs. It has changed to retail, commercial,
Oh, believe me, I know.
residential.
Over my objections.
Over your objection, it has turned into something completely different from what we initially went after
It did.
in terms of job creation. And so we can pull whatever we want to pull. It has become a commercial piece of property,
Yep.
with high value,
Yeah, yeah.
resident and industrial, and we conceded to make sure that it wasn't industrial because absolutely we want to protect your constituents. And so it's not the project that we envisioned.
No.
And so, I mean,
No, it's not, but-
there's not much more frontage on 9 Mile Road. We don't have much more land.
No.
You talk to Florida West, I mean, people are chopping at the bits. You know what I mean? I bet you could fill it that warehouse. Amazon would pay you $35 million, but it wouldn't be the best use. I mean, we have some developer friends.
Although if
in
they
there.
offered that, we'd probably have to say yes, but.
I mean, we probably wouldn't. I mean, because, yeah.
Yeah, you never
But Jeff, that's where I am. I mean, I don't want to beat it because I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I never say never.
Never say never. Well, guys, it's just we can't have this conversation. And I just want to have cogent responses when people go, Prakash, how come you can't get this deal done? We've had 7 people show up.
But those are the same people, Jeff, that are going to criticize you when you make a deal that turns out poorly. I mean, it's the criticisms. Criticisms are going to be levied at us regardless of what we do. I mean,
course.
we just have to.
I get
You
that.
know, we
Oh,
just
you ain't
have
going to win. I mean, you're going to be criticized.
We just have
regardless.
to. You have to feel good about what you're doing.
Oh, I do. Well, but I do. But at some point, I want to bring it in for the landing because not that long ago, guys, people were saying, "Oh, you guys made the biggest mistake ever building that field over in Santa Rosa. The swap is going to be a failure." I mean, now we have something that's valuable, and I think we're on the right side of it. I mean, we only owe 14.5. It's obviously worth more than that, but it's not worth anything if we never can close a deal.
Yeah, I'm comfortable continuing conversations with them. I do.
It's what it's worth, Jeff. I didn't mean to cut you off. What it's worth is what someone's willing to pay and what you're willing to sell it for. That's all it's worth.
Well, exactly.
I mean, that's all it's worth. It's what somebody's willing to pay and what you're willing to sell.
But they have to actually be willing to actually pay it. Not just contract.
And I get that. That's why I want to make sure we get all the contract issues. I mean, there will never be a perfect deal, but if we can get most of the contract issues ironed out to your satisfaction, Steve, I think we can cobble together some votes and make a deal.
I'm comfortable continuing conversations with them. I do think that there are, I do think that there are other folks that are, as you've indicated, I think there's other folks that are watching and interested, and we may be receiving other offers, and I just, that's okay. I mean, we receive other offers. The board may, begin having conversations with other folks. I don't think that, exclusively negotiating with them. We did send back, a red line, and it deleted language, and that language got inserted back in, which is the same issue that we ran into last year. So, if we can, we can continue these conversations, and hopefully we can get there within terms in the contract. But, if we receive other offers, then we'll just have to see how that goes.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Mike, your light's still on?
I think you've covered most of it. Fred, I'm just going to be honest with you. It was kind of a punch in the gut when you came back with 20 million to me, because I did the comps around there. Across the street, there's 11 acres at 7 for $163,000. I think it's worth it. Horton office is 28 million, and we had it 42 million. If you took 100,000 per acre, that's 29 million. I mean, I got to agree with Commissioner May. I'm not from France. This ain't the Louisiana Purchase, but I'm not going to give it away, and because we need stuff in my district as well. And I think it's worth a lot more than 20 million. And I do also agree with the chairman. I think we should accept all offers. I've been hearing stuff as well, but I was lukewarm at 25, and when you came back with 20, I kind of got not interested. I do have one question. How many units do you intend to put out there, just out of curiosity? We don't even know?
Well, there may be 1,500.
Yeah.
Fred, if you're going to answer, just speak in the microphone.
So
please.
that's
Thank you.
good to know, because that's a lot of money. 493 million.
I mean, the plan that we based our numbers on, I think, was about 1,500 units. But right now, we don't have any entitlements there. And, the property isn't worth anything without those entitlements. And so that's why we need to make sure we have entitlements
before we're willing to close on the property. Now, the term entitlement doesn't have to be the building permit for buildings, because we won't have that done in 12-month time, but we need to know the general areas, what we can build townhomes or apartments or the town center area.
Fred, we have that in the master plan. I mean, you have that, we've got the zoning, it's already in our code of ordinances. So what
I know,
else?
but as we said, we need to modify it. There's some things in that just don't work. It doesn't work from engineering standpoint. I don't think it works from a marketability standpoint.
Well, I mean, can you identify those in your next offer? I mean, we can, if we can work that out, because, I mean, we have the master plan, and we codified that into our ordinances for the parcel. I mean, so, I mean,
This we had in there, we wanted to have a development agreement in order to document that, and we had a 30-day period in which to do that. You know, that's not designing the exact location of every road, every type of building. That just can't be done in that time frame. But we need to know that we can execute that.
is there a way
The other, the comment about $100,000 per acre, yeah, that some acres are worth more than that, but to say that's the blanket value of the whole parcel, remember, you've got a significant amount of wetland areas down there. So you can't count that 290 as all usable.
Well, the only thing I would say, if you said 1,500 units, the average price for a house in Escambia County is $329,000. That's right under $500 million. I know that includes you have to pay for cost, and I'm sure those houses won't be going for $329,000. You're probably going to be around $400, so that's around $600 million. And I just think I'd like you to be open and frank with us and give us a fair deal. And if you do, I'll be on board.
Well, we think we've done that. You know, we've done it multiple times now, and, you got to think, you can run these numbers, but our number after we pay the $20 million for the property, we're projecting another $28 million for the roads, the infrastructure, the things to get that property ready for vertical construction. It's a significant investment here, and it's one reason we need to know that we can actually build that.
Let me ask you this. If you could, list what you're looking for into a document, would you move on the top line number? Because obviously, you hear that we don't have the votes at 20 million. We just don't.
We would move on the top line number after we understood what all the other terms were.
Who can help you with that? I don't think I can. Who?
Well,
Allison?
We've got an offer to you. You can edit it and get it back.
I mean, what specifics? What? Help me out here. I'm trying to.
Well, I'm trying.
Keep
I'm just saying.
things on life support.
We,
I'm trying to keep the heartbeat.
well, Will, you come up and speak too?
Well, as Mr. Hemmer was saying, the development agreement is part of the issue that we put in the document so that we could have an understanding. That has a 30-day timeline to negotiate with the county to establish and to come to an agreement on the development agreement. That also has a timeline built in on what those entitlement processes would be. That's in 8.1 of the document. So we tried to lay that out because right now it's ag zone, so there's no way to build your master plan.
That's incorrect information, no. The zoning, help me if I'm wrong, but we incorporated the master plan into our code of ordinances. We've already had the hearing and we've already done it. Am I right? Yes, I'm getting the yes, so that's wrong. It's not zoned, it's zoned exactly for what the master plan stipulates you can build there. So I just don't see the holdup. You have the entitlements. You have did you think that parcel was zoned agricultural?
No, sir. What we said that when we were talking about moving forward under the DPZ plan, it was going to be modified. We were going to have some type of modification in order to build what was going to be put forward. For instance, you, as part of this back and forth, have eliminated the main thoroughfare.
Absolutely.
So in those numbers, for instance, when we came in at 22, it had y'all building the main boulevard. So you wanted to take that out. So we took that out. So now that is gone, and that's what resulted in us coming back at 20 million. So that's not in there, and that is in the DPZ plan. So that has to be modified in order to move forward. So the idea is, what can we do? We know we can do mixed use retail. We know generally what that looks like where. Obviously, you have to do the engineering to do the layout, where the wetlands are, how those roads will lay out, and where the infrastructure will go. So that's what we're trying to build into the development agreement.
And you said there's a 30-day time limit on us, or you, or both, or all together? I mean, if it's 30 days, it doesn't seem like it's open-ended.
So in 8.2, it says, within 30 days of the effective date, the purchaser will endeavor to provide a schedule and benchmark of those items which will be completed during the inspection report. We also have in there, with regards to the development order, the development agreement, there's a layout on when that would be negotiated, and that is also a 30-day time limit.
Yeah. Well, you guys have both heard the discussion up here. I think we need some of that language modified, and I think we need a bigger top-line price. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yes, sir. And so right now, the status is we've provided a red line version back to your staff. So we would hope to see something back. And like Mr. Trimmer said, if we could move on that top line number if we knew we had all of the other issues hammered down. So certainly encourage you to give direction to your staff on what those would be so that we would know what we were agreeing and negotiating with.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
what do you think about that?
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get with Wes, we'll get with Allison, and we'll see if we can make the changes and send it back. All right? Does that sound right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage the fact that the terms, the other terms in there, I mean, the top line number, top line number is going to be an issue, which is pretty easy to see. I mean, but the terms in there, if we're re-redlining an agreement with terms going back to them, I would probably encourage, if it's the second or third time that those terms have been inserted, that they would stay, or we're not going to be able to do something. This is where the deal fell apart last year. I mean, we kept redlining documents, and we kept getting the same thing back. And I mean, at some point in time, that's a practice in futility. So, so if we're inserting the same language and it's going to get deleted again, then I mean, what are we doing?
Let's just make this one, Steve and staff, let's make this one the one that we got to have, and then when it gets to you, tell us if you can't live with it. Just tell us. Don't unredline it and send it back, because obviously you're hearing that's not going to work.
We gave that message back immediately.
My understanding is we got the language reinserted that we had taken out.
Yeah, but we did that after we said we were done with the deal.
Okay. Well,
And then you all came back and said, no, don't do that.
I'm applying the paddles, man.
I know, I understand that, but
trying to keep this thing alive, man.
Look how many times we've made LOIs, how many times we've changed it, the contract, got your information, we said we're done, then you came back and said, no, don't do that. We've changed the deal, trying to address several of the points that we've heard.
Well,
So,
I know it's frustrating.
I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to do a deal. You're hearing what we can get tonight. We'll send something back to you, probably with a new top line number, right, Steve? New top line?
Yes.
All right. So you'll get a new top line number too, and then at that point, we just got to figure it out. I mean, that's kind of where we're
Right,
at.
like I said, the top line number becomes very important after we know what all the terms are.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Thank you.
I guess that's where we're at. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
All right. Allison?
There are 2 items on the county attorney's report. We have amended the date for the public hearing on number 2.
Move the county attorney's report.
Thank you. Second, Mike? Thank you. Please vote. County Attorney's report passes 3-0 with Commissioner May gone for the evening. Mr. Administrator, I see you wrapping up. Madam Council, you're wrapped up. Board, that concludes.
Wes, can you give us an update on that fire, please? Yeah. I know you have a bat phone to the chief.
The latest update was we think we have it under control.
Okay. How many houses did we lose, do you know?
I know we lost one, or at least one got burned. I don't know if it's a total loss. But again, we have crews on site. We set up the rescue center there at Liberty Church, buses in action, animal control in action, EMS and public safety is certainly in action over there. And I'll get another update from Travis probably as I leave here tonight, and I'll send it out.
Do we know how many people are displaced right now?
I do not know
Okay,
right now.
thanks.
All right, Board, and the next time we will be together is the 22nd at 9 a.m.
Thank you.